Is Phoenix Rising the hottest team in all of USL? I'm here to talk about it. John Morrissey's here to talk about it. Back to you in 30. Woo! We're back. We're so back, we never even left, baby. Welcome into the PHNX Rising podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us here on a Wednesday evening. It's, of course, it's your boy. I am Max Simpson, and I'm joined by, what's that? Oh, no Owen Evans, Mr. Vacations. Is that now 2-3 shows that he's missed in a row? I think, like 5 or 6 shows of the season. Just hate to see it, but it's okay. At least I'm joined by no Reese either. That's insane. Oh my gosh, these boys, Mr. Vacations, back to back. You hate to see it, but don't worry. I am not going solo. I have widely requested. This was raved about when we told the diehards, when we told the people. We have the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. John Morrissey of USL Tactics and Backheeled. He's live. He's here joining the show. John, how the heck are we doing?
Doing really well. I mean, happy to have been in Phoenix recently. Happy to be here today to talk about Rising.
Absolutely, man. Listen. For those of you who don't know, right? And by the way, when you guys get in here, make sure hit that like button on your way in. Listen, I'm like, John, he's a very popular man, in demand, busy schedule. I had to pull him aside at the Rising game when he was here. I'm like, hey, listen, John, these guys, Mr. Vacations, they're going to be out of town in a couple weeks. I want to get ahead of this. I want to make sure I lock down a guest of your caliber early as we can. Would you oblige us, grace us with your presence doing the show? And he's like, absolutely. But no, John, excited to have you in here. This is going to be great. I mean, right? Phoenix Rising, they are, I don't want to say they are the talk of the USL, because it seems every time we blink, we were on the brink of, dare I say, dumpster fire. A couple of months ago, this team has been so hot and cold, to start the season. There was promise, there was potential, but you're just kind of waiting for this team to come together. And you flash forward all of the panic, the angst, everything that we felt for Phoenix Rising, back in March, even going into April. It has been erased by they're without a doubt bond form in terms of points. They're the hottest team, certainly within the last 5 games. It's gonna be nuts. There's so much to talk about. I'm excited to get your perspective overall from Phoenix Rising, from that USL wide perspective, and when we're going to dive into some of those matches and just how they compare from league form overall. We'll do that a little bit later in the show, but I'm curious your take. You watched them in person, like you said a few weeks ago. This Phoenix Rising team, it's fun. They're young, they're hungry, they're exciting to watch. What has it been like for you, both watching in person and when you're watching on TV?
No, I think you're totally right to talk about the improvement. And this team feels like they've got an identity in these past couple of weeks. Early on, the injuries, you're getting used to the new coach. There's that bit of lag where things aren't coming together. Since maybe the start of May, give or take, it's been intense pressure in the midfield, tons of fun and transition. For me, Hope Avievu, that's a player who arguably might be the best midfielder in the league right now. Everything about it is clicking under the vision of Pab Muruka. It is just fun to watch from a distance.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, this Rising Club, it's one of those where we've said so often throughout the season, they're living and dying right by what has been working with them and by what has been working with them. We have seen that some of the things that they started throughout the season, right? There was, some inconsistency within goalkeeping. That's not the case anymore. The defense, bringing some guys on. There were some guys in and out of the lineup due to injury. That's starting to round into form. The attacking third, that was never the question. We always knew that regardless who you're rolling out, there's depth in spades. There are some elite level strikers for this league, right? We were talking about before we came on, but some of the best players at their position are playing within this Phoenix Rising club. Really, the big thing has been the midfield, and we're even seeing with it some of the new additions that come into place. This could be a really exciting and stable club moving forward. I'm excited to get in all that. I want to shout out everyone in the chat, everyone joining in, all the diehards that I'm seeing as well. Devinall, always chirping. Let's see, we got Albert in the chat. He's giving me the compliments, the grace for being the only full-time member of the PHNX Rising Pod to be on here. But he's talking about the beer debt. I think we had Amanda Wilson earlier on in the chat thanking me for my service of being the sole host, the only responsible one here on the pod. I'll have to shout out, by the way, Shane, the mustache behind the brand redacted computer, pushing the buttons, doing his thing as well. Reese apparently gallivanting in Paris. It's a whole thing. So I don't want to take the shine away from the guys who are doing the job, but I guess they can have a vacation. But this chat's gonna let them hear about it. Let's kind of dive in a bit, right? Phoenix Rising in their last match against Orange County, right? Going up. I think this is one where we were talking about it before we hopped on the pod. Phoenix Rising, they really like a lot of their preferred lineup. They've been rolling through somewhat consistently in the past month, right? You're seeing majority of the attacking players have been the same. Defense, again, some guys in and out, but you're seeing a lot of, the center backs relatively cohesive. Patrick Rakowski has been an absolute unit in between the sticks. You're starting to find that when everyone is fit and healthy, I don't want to say that Coach Palma Ducat maybe has his absolute preferred starting 11, but I think he has a solid 13, 14 guys who really just depending on fit, really just depending on positional versatility, he knows who he wants to go to. John, when you're looking at that match and you're seeing, hey, so many guys are away at Gold Cup, some guys are injured, and you're looking at there is a very much a retooled Phoenix Rising, for them to not only come in and pretty much dominate an Orange County team at home, but to do it with guys who haven't really played much at all the entire season, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think it's useful to understand how Orange County wants to play and how Phoenix stopped them from doing that. OC is a team that wants to drive through the midfield, get players like Kyle Scott, tons of touches, see what you can do. Rising never let that happen. At that first wave of pressure, it was denial, not letting him get those passes into his feet. So then when OC had to go long, that's where the back line is stepping up. Traore, I thought Colin Smith was good in the physical battles. You felt like there was cohesion of Phoenix understood what they needed to stop at the front and then had that reliability at the back to get it done. Rakowski coming up big when he needs to. Everything about it felt holistic and designed. And I think that is, again, the big marker of improvement from what we were talking about in April or March.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is one where there are times when, again, as everyone in the chat knows, as a as a suffering Spurs fan all season, and I'm not going to compare Phoenix Rising to Tottenham Hotspur, because Phoenix Rising's harder than Tottenham Hotspur, but that's a whole nother thing. Sacked a manager and gone goodbye. But right, I have seen that when teams are so welded to a certain type of play, especially if it's one where it's all at attack. You even saw Palma Ducat going into the season, right? We know he's going to play high intensity. And I think some of that, you saw a lot of those growing pains and those early issues throughout the beginning of the season where you're trying to play out the back, you're seeing it backfire. The midfield, for when it's front foot and it's in the attacking third, it's beautiful to watch, but they're so easy on the counter. And I think when you're able to go in, play at home against, to your point, a team in Orange County where they're playing a bit opposite of that and finding out different ways to break them down, it's really cool to see such a evolvement even from a few months ago. And the other thing, I'm not, again, it's not even trying to compare, hey, apples to apples, it's different teams, different personnel at his disposal. But lest you forget, this is Danny Stone, who's very familiar with Phoenix Rising, coaching on the other sideline, coaching on the other side. It's interesting to see. It's interesting seeing the evolvement, the adaptability. It's not something that we could have said about Phoenix Rising a couple months ago.
No, and that's the big thing of, I think I fell into the trap of assuming Paul Mudokar was going to be very doctrinarian about the way he wanted to play. It's the adjustment every week. You're seeing the tweaks, whether it's personnel or strategy. There's something different every time because Ka understands, okay, this is how I want to approach this match. This is the player that's going to get me over that line. And that's the sign of maturity from a coach. That's a sign of you are willing to admit that your system, the thing you prefer, isn't going to be the answer every single time out. And again, promising trends all across the board. That is yet another one that makes me a little bit more of a believer in what Rising are trying to do.
Absolutely. Seeing Kevin in the chat, it certainly does not hurt when Darius Formella is playing like playoff 2023 Darius Formella. Listen, that might be a hair too soon given form for me, but I will say, listen, when you're serving in a nice one-touch finish with a very difficult angle, I mean, that's pretty audacious in how he did it. Made it look way simpler than it was. You absolutely love to see it. Again, they have guys who I think that also goes down to a lot of like, tactical coaching, that man-for-man coaching of, if you're able to motivate your guys and say, hey, listen, you're maybe not always going to be our lockdown starter, but when you need to come in and play your part, that's so empowering for when you don't have that drop-off of attacking talent, of, the guys coming into the mix of saying, hey, you have a role to play. I don't take those things for granted. That's very important from a coach. Some of those things that go beyond X's and O's that we don't always see. For a veteran guy like Darius Formella, who in seasons past, who he was used to more of a starter role, or at the very least heavy minutes, for not being in that same spot. That's, small sample size, but we love to see it.
And the thing with Formella, he's somebody who, is he a winger? Is he a striker? Is he kind of neither? This was a match where he kind of leaned into the fact that he can do a little bit of everything. Even that first goal, that's an extended sequence where Phoenix is keeping the ball in the attacking zone. Formella gets a touch about 10, 15 yards outside of the box toward the right side just to keep play going. Then he works his way back in. As things are developing around him, he knows, okay, this is the point where I need to seek out the touch, find that space. And the finish is amazing, but I think it's everything else around that play that shows you how he feels confident about the soccer he's playing. And you're getting the best out of a guy who we know can be a 10-goal scorer in this league.
100%. 100%. Seeing red balls in the chat, our back line is also pretty good on the ball. I feel we recycle possession so well. I think that's something definitely seemingly been improved throughout the season. And then got a two-parter for you, John, from Devenall, asking your thoughts on Noble Okello on this match, as well as some of his substitution patterns, both within this match and we could say at large.
I think Okello was a player who I came in with expectations that were a little bit too high this season. You see some of the resume, you hear some of the hype that was coming from the club. You kind of expected him to be a world beater, and he's a little bit less physical, maybe a little bit less of a carrier than you might have expected. But I think in this game in particular, he did the job defensively. I thought his positioning was quite strong, especially when he was trying to mark Chris Heggert, provide some of that support on the wings. This was a match where Okello really showed some of that intelligence. Is he going to be a nailed-on starter for the rest of the season? Maybe not, given some of the additions, but I think he has a part to play in what Phoenix is going to be doing for the rest of the year. Speaking to the substitution patterns, I would like to see a little bit more consistency. I think there are games where Phoenix is maybe a little bit too trigger happy to make a change. And that's abated somewhat as the form has improved. I think that was more of a first couple weeks complaint. But it's hard when you're in your opening games in a job like Pa Mudaka is with Phoenix Rising. I liked a lot what we saw against Orange County, particularly that late game switch when you had Emmers and Dennis kind of holding down these narrow wing positions. So maybe jury out on the second question. But yeah, Okello is somebody who I'm looking forward to the rest of 2025.
100%. I think even the way of you're managing the minutes down and against New Mexico, going into extra time, going into penalty kicks, going into you're able to keep guys fresh and keep guys in the mix, especially again going back to that man management. You're maybe not always going to be that lockdown starter. You're maybe not always going to be playing those high leverage minutes, but even if you're able to you see a late Charlie Dennis camo, you're able to see these guys coming in, and then you see it paying dividends the next match. That to me, that I'm not trying to say that made the difference or that led to a goal, but there is something to be said of a manager who is able to give guys time here and there. You're able to stay sharp, and when your moment comes, I love to see it. I haven't, all the substitution has it been 100%? No, and no manager is ever going to get it 100%. I do think it's been a bit more tactical, and I think a lot of the times Rising fans will, I think we've been a bit scarred of, you're seeing managers who sometimes they make substitutions a little bit too late or maybe a bit too drastic in their tacticalness. I think it's been a lot more even, I would say, this time around, certainly in the last handful of matches.
And if you want to go at one extreme or the other, I'd rather have a coach who's bold and making those big changes rather than just sitting on it until the 80th. So if Kyle leans that way, hey, more power to him. I think that's good.
Absolutely. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up and show the fans is if we actually take a look at our By the Numbers presented by our fans over at Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union named by Forbes. This is something that we have not always seen this season, which I do find so hilarious and such a departure from Phoenix Rising in seasons past. So Phoenix Rising 3, Orange County 1. Again, you're losing the XG battle. 0.82 for Rising, XG 0.94 for Orange County. Here's the thing that we have seen in seasons past. Rising are winning the possession battle and by a decent margin, 61% for Phoenix Rising, 39% possession for Orange County. We have seen in previous matches, even over the last 2 or 3 matches, Rising are either losing the possession battle or it's not that much of a narrow edge. I like to see them have a balance. Again, to your point, you knew they're going to have more possession within this matchup. They're able to play the right way. They're able to adjust. They're a bit more proactive rather than reactive. It's very refreshing to see. And then again, the shots, 10 for each club, 5 shots on goal for Phoenix Rising, 3 on goal for Orange County. Listen, this is one where, as we always like to say on the pod, the eye test and the stats test, it's not always going to line up. But I think in a match like this, granted, always fun when you have 4 goals from the given XG, but I think this is one where, whether it's a hard angle, whether it's one where it's a tap in because of the good runs off the box, this is one where Phoenix Rising, you come away from it, whether as a neutral or a Phoenix Rising fan, they deserve to win. The numbers back it up, and it's just what you've been accustomed to seeing over the last, month or two.
Yeah, and I think you look at that possession number, and you might assume Phoenix was just dominating the ball the whole game. But the final 2 goals they scored, one off a set piece, kind of getting that scramble afterwards. The third goal is just a straight up transition opportunity, which you look at that number, that 61%, you think, oh, they weren't really getting out on the break. It was a lot of the slower build. This was a match where every goal that Phoenix scored kind of came in a different phase of play. Mm-hmm. And that's an encapsulation of why this offense has been dangerous. They've got the talent to beat you in any situation, adapt to the opponent and the setting of a given week. And yeah, just makes them a little bit more hard to stop overall.
100%. Well, anything further, any other takeaways from this match?
I love JP Scarce just in general. I think he's stepping up to the plate, and I thought this was another great game from him.
I don't even want to say a redemption arc because I don't think that's fair. I don't think he's really needed a redemption arc, but like I'm excited to get into the JP Sears. We're gonna have to come up with a term for that, but like just the leveling up, if you will, that we've been seeing from him throughout the season in recent games. We're going to get into that, more about Rising's progress throughout the season on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Listen, beautiful thing, right? Phoenix Rising, they're on the move. They are winning. I like to get my share of winning as well. You guys can do that with our friends over at Vimy. Vimy is the first of its kind. It is the one of one, is the first of its kind person-to-person betting app. There is finally a way to help settle those wagers with your friends. Oh, someone's calling you on something and saying, hey, oh, you lost this bet to me, pay up. So much it's a handshake deal, so much it's erroneous. You have Mr. Convoluted and Mr. Liar that I'm co-hosting with, that they are always going to be, oh, Max, you bet this. Max, you got this wrong. Oh, they're slandering my name. Well, now I can use Vimy to be able to say, hey, listen, we now have a source. We now have an impartial judge who is able to judge these accordingly, get your bets paid, and being able to have contests settled by the right people at hand. Vimy, you can bet on anything from sports, video games, golf games, poker nights, push-up contests. I can say, hey, who's going to score the most goals amongst our Rising co-hosts? It's clearly going to be me, Golden Boot winner. All done by Vimy. It is so easy to do. Have fun with it. Super easy to do. Download the Vimy app and play today using the code PHNX. Again, go to App Store on your iPhone or Google Play, download and use the code PHNX. Vimy, anyone, anything, anytime. Take from us. It is fun to use. Try it today. Also, shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays. Shady Rays, It's the summertime, guys. I got my pair of Shady Rays. I should have it on me in this studio. It's not my beloved Studio K presented by Circle K because it's so darn bright in here with the lights that mustache producer extraordinaire has of ours. But if I did have my Shady Rays, I'd be blocking out the light. I do have different pairs of Shady Rays. It is the summertime. It's Arizona. You need it. Beat the heat. Use promo code PHNX. Save 35% off your first pair of polarized sunglasses. These glasses been rated 5 stars or better by over 300,000 people. Do you even know 300,000 people? I certainly don't. But 300,000 people said, hey, I'm going to like these shades. I'm going to rate them. I'm going to go back in and say, I want a pair. ShadyRays.com, promo code PHNX. Get them today. Block out the haters, especially Owen Evans. All right, we're back on the PHNX Rising podcast. We got John Morrissey. Again, I think he's an upgrade over Owen, but I'm just gonna let that out there. Let the Twitter streets handle it. We're talking about Phoenix Rising's form over the season, and again, kind of introed the show. You know, those of us who have been watching week in, week out, what we've been seeing. This team, I think there's been. I predicted at the start of the season a couple things, right? They're going to be inconsistent in a lot of their starting 11s. You're trying to feel out who is going to be those right combinations, and I think the thing is, we all knew and at least expected that this club was going to have a slow start, right? You're looking, I mean, Albert in the chat, who I know, right, and is not calling out Albert, but like, right, very much, you know, stepped back from the pod a bit, excited to see him in here and all that stuff. That's fantastic. But I remember even talking with him, and it's like, there's been a lot of turnover within this club, right? When you have so many new guys who have not been in Phoenix Rising, who have not been in the USL period, who haven't been on this, you know, high of a professional level, like we'll call it what it is. A lot of these guys, you know, when you're coming from MLS Next, or you're coming from other countries where maybe the level of competition isn't quite as high, there is a learning curve. The USL Championship is a very physical league. There are a lot of different demands, especially Pamadou Ka. He has been a coach. He has been a head coach at a level, but not this level. You figure there's going to be time to adjust. And we have seen that during the beginning of the season, it was a slow start. So much so that when you're pretty much at the bottom dwelling of the Western Conference, understandably, and we were chief among them, there is a lot of room for what's going on, where's the adjustment, can this team improve? And it's really trying to pinpoint what has kind of taken hold over the last 2 months, where Phoenix Rising, again, we said it to begin the show, they're the hottest team in the league, certainly within the Western Conference, certainly at least one of them. And John, we'll curious to get your opinion, but is there any one thing that you have seen from Phoenix Rising where kind of from that midpoint in April, they've just turned on a switch?
Yeah, I think broadly it's the defense and the structure within that. But I think Patrick Krakowski has been a huge deal in that sense, and his ability to grab that goalkeeping spot by the scruff of the neck and put in the consistent performances. I think getting Asenge in on loan has really been a solidifying force within the back line. Honestly, they just needed a warm body, given what happened with Pop Marboy, given some of the availability issues, and we've seen better from that. And then in the midfield, I mentioned Skierce, what he's done to protect the defensive unit, to plug holes, really embody that number 6 position within this team. That has facilitated everything. It helps the back line. It lets the press be that much more effective because you've got that guy who's going to be the backstop, who's going to play center field between the lines. So you set up that baseline for a team that was already looking really sharp in the attacking zones. Hey, that's a formula to really win some games, especially given how open the West has been this season.
I don't disagree with you. Really don't. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's crazy that this is the same season where, you know, in one of, it feels like, oh, like a couple matches in the season, is that Darnell King? That Darnell King having to play a match. Like, it's the injury crisis that has taken a hold of this team, and especially on the back line, where at one point it's like you are down 8-9 players who, if not starters, certainly at the time, even early onset in the season, playing significant minutes. This was something where you are trying to stay fit. You are trying to just get bodies going into a matchup. And to your point, as guys are getting healthier, as you're able to see a bit more of that cohesion, especially in the back line, you're starting to not have to play a track meet every single match, right? Again, we knew in almost every match that we've seen, Phoenix Rising is able to, if not score goals, at the very least generate a consistent attacking threat pretty much in every game this season, whether it's been the entire match or certainly for at least a half sustained period. enough to at least get a goal or two in their name. It was always a question then of, can you hold a 1-goal lead? Can you keep a team out, keep a clean sheet, keep a team out of your net? And the answer for the first, 2 months of the season was no, absolutely not. It is tough. But I think to your point, as you have seen the defense solidify, you're seeing guys coming back into form. You see JP Sears has been leveling up. I thought he was a really solid player last season, asked to do a little bit more, especially as of late this year, and he has taken on his role beautifully. It's also a resurgence for Petr Koski. I mean, we have talked on length of just how he has been such a monster between the sticks. It's not like he's come out from nowhere, right? We've seen him do this years past, but like 2021, turning back the clock for a guy who he's been, behind Rocco Rios Novo for years past within this club, to be able to step up and how he has, especially after a shaky start, a bit of some call it a goalkeeper battle, some people don't, but to be able to reclaim definitively, he is without a doubt the number one guy, at this club. It's so impressive to see, and really leading from example for a club that, again, average age, very young, and he is the veteran amongst them.
No, he's that vocal leader, that presence in the locker room that can really set the tone. I mean, the guy's won a title in the USL, which you can't really say about a lot of the guys, even some of the players that you think would have been here, given how recently Phoenix won a title of their own. That's invaluable to have that level of communication and to have that almost coach on the field who can really communicate the message and organize that back line where you've seen so much change. I know I saw it in the comments, the performance of Braxton Montgomery.
Oh my gosh.
And I think the young players broadly, like everybody is stepping up to the plate. And when you're someone like Braxton, who's so young, you didn't really expect that you'd be this important to the team. Getting from the first 2 months into that second block of a couple weeks, a couple games, that's gigantic. You're feeling comfortable. You understand your teammates. You know the level a little bit better. I think he's been exceptional, and he's been asked to do it basically in every spot across the back four. Tremendous player, and I think another key piece in why we've seen this team glow up a bit.
100%. I mean, it's crazy to think this guy's 18 years old, and he is. We were in the press conference right after the win on Penn's, or quoting Owen, it's not a win. We're calling it a win, bro. We don't care. Owen Evans, get out of here
tonight. It's a win.
Right,
yeah.
We're calling a win. Win against New Mexico on penalties, and someone asked Pamadou Ka of, hey, Braxton Montgomery made a very high-profile error leading to a Mexico goal, the pass kind of seemingly to nowhere. And Pamadou Ka, he didn't shake it off, but he's like the way he approaches it, the almost leadership mentality, and the so much he has had to learn on the fly. It's one thing to say, hey, it's the body language afterwards, it's how he's able to bounce back. He has no issues with him. The fact that this guy, it's a young team overall, but the fact that he's a teenager in such a high compromising position, within that left back spot, it's a massive undertaking. And listen, he has his moments. He's by no means perfect. He has a lot of raw, inexperienced mistakes, but the way, like to your point, the chat's raving about it, he's a guy who, young player of the year, and one of the guys who you can see the future, whether it's with Phoenix Rising or he goes on to bigger and better things, even at this small sample size, to be playing the way that he has, so incredibly impressive.
And more broadly, I think players have been allowed to make occasional mistakes. I'm thinking back to that New Mexico game where the thing that stood out to me was how in the face that press was, really trying to deny New Mexico. When you're being that aggressive, you're going to slip up. You're going to lose your mark occasionally. That's what happens. And of course, Phoenix allows 3 goals in that game, but they're trusting the process. They're sticking to the same set of principles. And someone like Hope, who I praised a bit earlier, what he does in the press, how he's able to attempt those riskier passes in the final third, basically every single position he's in, Hope Avievu is allowed to be a daring player. And that's when he's at his best. And that wouldn't happen if he wasn't told, if you mess up, that's fine. We're going to accept it because we know you've got that something in you.
100%. He's a guy who, you're looking at how he plays on the field, plays so much bigger than his role. You're seeing he's doing the late arriving runs in the box, that goal against Mexico. You've seen him pop up of the goals he scored, very technically proficient, is able to deal with the pressure and almost has a bit of that press resistance. But again, to your point, by no means perfect, but he plays fearless. And that's something where I think when it's going poorly, you can understand where there's a lot of frustration of hey, need to get the ball out, need to maybe, I don't want to say it's not careless or casual, but it's okay, you need to have a bit of that internal timer. So like, I understand the downside of it when it's not going well, but when it is going well, and you even are able to say, hey, buy that extra second of time for yourself, it can translate to really amazing things. Albert in the chat saw it a little bit up. This is a comparison that I think you'll will love or appreciate. Rising now has a better bullpen than the D-backs, it pains me to say, which that's a conversation for multiple podcasts. I unfortunately don't disagree. It is absolutely tough out there. We're cursed, but hey, Phoenix Rising, they're going strong. We got Rebels in the chat. I like this. An Eddie Majoma shout. Colin Smith has been largely great too. He's like Eddie Majoma, but a lot stronger 1v1 defensively. And also a lot of people, if I'm scrolling a little bit up, producer Shane, calling you best ball knower, stat knower ever in the USL, and you are the top shelf. So there you go.
Let's go. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's I think the beautiful thing about how Phoenix Rising have played as of late is, and this is something that I don't think all teams in the past necessarily can always count on, right? I don't want to say there's a different hero every time. Like, you have your core guys, you know who's going to be stepping up, right? Like you said, Hope Aveu, he is going to be a pretty consistent performer for this team. You have Jerome Margarita, who again is one of the top performers in the USL. But I think there seems to be, over the course of these 2-3 week periods, there seems to be a new guy who, hey, he's kind of coming into his own. He's improving since we saw him, at the start of the season. I think something like that for a young team, it's a lot of the times you see this growth almost measured over 3, 4, 5 month long periods. But the way they're playing and the way that Pamadou Ka is running this team, they're almost forced to say you're getting thrown in the fire. To your point, they have a bit of this safety net under them, and they're holding strong. They're coming to it. Where we saw a lot of those struggles in the beginning part of the season, I'm sure we'll see more here and there, but it's almost like that 3, 4, 5 month period of that growth has almost been shrunk down into 3, 4, 5 weeks for some players. It's something that I haven't seen this rapid of a rise from a team, in a while, certainly from a Phoenix Rising perspective.
And I think that's a real sign that everybody is bought into the system, bought into what this organization is trying to do. If you watch a lot of the other teams in the West right now, I mean, Las Vegas just fired a manager. We've seen some of the coaching changes. Most clubs don't have that vibe. Like, they're changing up the scheme from week to week. There's a lot of decisions that feel like we're throwing something at the wall to see what sticks. Rising are growing quickly because there's that institutional buy-in. That's a real differentiator in the conference right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think we saw it after, we saw it after the end of last season, where when Pamadou Ka is coming in, it very much felt like this is the first time in a while that this club really has been able to rebuild fully in their own image. I mean, right, you go back to the end of the 2022 season, Juan Guerra's in, and that he's appointed in mid-season, he's able to have his full off season, grab his crew, come in, and you saw a lot of the guys that they were signing were solid veteran names who had been around either the USL or larger leagues, and you were able to bang on that happening quickly. Again, 6th place finish, but you have a trophy for it, right? You are etched within the history of this league in one of the greatest playoff runs of all time, regardless of sports, regardless of teams, bar none. Full stop there. You then have seen, Danny Stone was appointed right before the season started. He didn't really have, didn't even barely had a preseason, let alone a full off season to recruit guys in his own image. And ever since the beginning of last season, it has just been, it's not a full, consistent picture. As you saw Pamadou Ka come in, being able to bring in the players that he wanted. And a lot of guys were head scratching of saying, these are not marquee guys. We do not know who they are. They're young. There's not a bunch of experience. We're still waiting for that marquee name. I think it was one where if you're able to preach patience, you at least want to see what they're able to do with it. There was no guarantee that this was going to work. This could have been, a flop in terms of some of the guys coming in. And listen, the season is still young. By no means am I, switching from doom and gloom to the first month of the season, which it very much seemed like, to now it's all sunshine and rainbows. But the fact that we are now at this point, I don't think many people would have seen this is how this team has risen in the past handful of weeks with the personnel that they have. A lot still has to happen, but the way that you're seeing the individual performances and almost the short memory in a positive way, that to me is like going back to your point. It's how these guys have been brought up of you're able to play fearless, you're able to have the guys in the right spot and, just play with not reckless abandon, but you're able to have a short memory, shake it off, and go on next man up.
Yeah, and like hand up, in the preseason, I predicted this team was going to finish 10th. I saw a lot of the players that came in, and I liked the potential. And I didn't know if the vision was really going to come into fruition, given the youth, given the fact that there wasn't a lot of USL experience. The fact that they've come together so quickly, they look so stylish in the process. And you look at the form in the last 5 games, no team in the West has been better. They're on the positive side when you look at the expected goals. Every single metric, every single bit of the eye test is telling you, okay, this is a team that's probably going to push on and compete for a home playoff game, which is a wonderful surprise to see, but it speaks to everything about what this team is doing.
100%. And I mean, I think like going back to your point of, where people had them predicted to finish, and even just is the vision going to be seen out? I mean, regardless of whether people agree with it or not, it's even just the track record of, this team, especially in recent years, it's like they know the standard. They want to be hosting playoff matches. And even if you have a new, coach at this level with new players, you don't even know, what if he was going to be afforded the time for the vision. So to see it happen, even after a shaky start, coming into fold as they have, it's impressive to see. And you're seeing a bit of vindication, given the decisions, even on Coach Pamadou Ka's part of, I brought in my guys, and now we're playing at the level. We'll have to see if they're able to sustain it.
Yeah, and think about, I mean, something I think about as a useful indicator for a team and their flexibility is how you do when you face a certain club multiple times. Phoenix has dominated the New Mexico matchups. We'll get into Tulsa, but when you think about the opener against Tulsa, then the Open Cup, that was improved. Phoenix is learning how to adapt. They're doing better when they get a second bite at the apple. That means something about the mentality and the ideas behind what you're doing.
Absolutely. And you know what? I am so excited to touch upon that streak, and we're going to do it on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Again, got to tip my hat to John. Got to tip my hat to everyone in the chat here. Of course, got to tip our hat to our friends over at Branded Bills. That's right. Cheesy pun. There we go. Branded Bills. Nothing cheesy about them. It is all flash. It is all style. It is all substance. You see the hat right behind me. Oh gosh, how does my hand work? There it is. Did a collaboration with the D-backs. Right above that, ASU hat. Right on the other side, U of A hat. Well, we won't go there, but it is a fact. They are doing hats throughout the Valley. They have partnerships again with ASU, U of A, with the Suns, with other schools throughout the nation. Branded Bills is not just Arizona's hat company, it's America's hat company. They are the best hats. They have just the most comfortable, a whole plethora of styles. They now have visors, they have bucket hats. They have everything that you could need to gear up for the summer and gear up in style. Do me a favor. Get yourself a discount and get some quality hats. Go to brandedbills.com. Use promo code BBPHNX for now 15% off your order. Again, promo code BBPHNX, 15% off your order at brandedbills.com. Thank me later. Also, shout out our friends over at Chicken and Pickle. We teamed up with them last year, did a whole bunch of fun events. We had multiple pickleball tournaments. We did trivia night. We did game nights. And when you go to Chicken and Pickle, right, it is just a fun oasis of fun, okay? They have phenomenal food, right? The Chicken and Pickle, it's pretty promising when a pickleball place starts with a name that has chicken in it, right? The chicken tenders are good. The breakfast, the brunch, all absolutely phenomenal. They got the cold beer. It is a massive, massive multi-acre facility where they have indoor pickleball, outdoor pickleball. They have massive battleship. They have game rooms where you can watch all the different sports on TVs. Chicken and Pickle, it is a fantastic time. Again, go to chickenpickle.com to plan your visit today. Again, chickenandpickle.com. Plan it today. We are going to be doing multiple events throughout the year. Be on the lookout for pickleball tournaments and, dare I say, a little tailgate come Cardinal season. But check us out, Chicken and Pickle. Absolutely fun time. All right. Back here, PHNX Rising podcast. Hit a like on your way in here. We got John Morrissey here live on the pod. Everyone here in the chat, you guys are being great. We're only going to continue to be great on our end, mainly John. I am who I am, but John's only going to continue to be great if you hit the like button. Do us that favor, please, if you will. As you're looking at Phoenix Rising's form, we're talking about the turning point. We're talking about what these last few months have been, and it's hard to find a inflection point. To me, if I am looking for that turning point of where things kind of started going Rising's way, in a lot of ways, it does kind of seem like it was, while it was the Open Cup, it's when they eliminated Tulsa, away from home. Again, it's so apropos that is who they're playing on the weekend. But you see the saves that Patrick Kovsky's making. You're seeing, okay, the penalty stops, that this is a bit of that. Hold on a second. This performance, I don't want to say it was out of nowhere, but there weren't maybe as many signs. You'd seen that a few weeks before. They beat San Antonio on the road, who was number one in the West, just seemingly out of nowhere. But really out of that, came back to earth a bit against a Detroit City team. They just haven't played consistency. And since that Tulsa match, and even before that loss to Detroit City, this is what their league form has been. Draw against Sacramento Republic, draw against Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and then now 4 wins in a row on the league. Only other losses that they've had during that time, they had a cup loss to San Antonio, which was a crazy match, and then you lose to Houston, which again we've said it multiple times, right? Two members on that Houston Dynamo team have a larger payroll than the entire Phoenix Rising squad. They took them to extra time, in an Open Cup match. This club has been on fire again since middle of April, about a 2-month sample size. Have not lost in the league in 6 matches. You see it on screen. They're crushing it in the league. They're doing pretty decently in other aspects as well. But John, talk to us a bit about how hard is it to not just maintain that form within the league, but you're going up against competition where you're traveling to, this isn't just all home matches. You're traveling to away matches. You're traveling and playing some solid competition. To your point, you're having New Mexico's number on multiple occasions. What does that mean for a club who has been such a young club, who has, taken doubters by storm, and that it's been really impressive to see, especially over these last 2 months?
No, and especially in the Western Conference where the teams can be so spread out, it's hard to keep up that level of form. This season, like you mentioned, the Open Cup, the Jägermeister Cup, it's a lot of different formats, a lot of different considerations for how these teams are going to go at it. To me, it speaks to the effective use of this club's depth. We talk about that next man up, that number of players who are making the difference every week. A lot of teams don't have that, and I think that's a real explainer for why Phoenix has been consistent since the start of May, or since that Tulsa win in the Open.
100%. And listen, we were very much on record, and it's something that we still, I know I can speak for Owen, I can speak for Reese. There's a lot of worry going into the Gold Cup of you have key guys missing, right? You have Darius Shanti, you have Gerald Margarita, you have guys who have been key contributors to this team that are not going to be playing. And there was a lot of worry of, you hope that this team has enough depth, but are they going to completely lose their offensive firepower? Now, again, we're not trying to overblow it, right? There's so far a 1-game sample size, but to have that next man up mentality, if they're able to surge through and stay within that middle of the table in the West, possibly even rise depending on results, if they're able to come out of it when you're on the other side of the Gold Cup relatively unscathed, I'm seeing in the chat, people are, Albert, a home playoff match would feed families. Ryballs, we're definitely going to be a late season threat. Even if we have a dip in form coming up, we're just too deep. I think that this Gold Cup scenario, it could actually, I don't want to say blessing in disguise, but you could see guys coming in, getting some valuable minutes, getting some valuable reps that could serve them well going into a late season run, crossing the fingers.
Yeah, if you come out of this stretch and you've got Isan Sako feeling really good about himself on the wing, if Formella keeps finding this form, suddenly you're 6 players deep in attack that can make the difference. Nobody else in the USL has that level of quality up top. And we know Margarita is going to bring the goods. We know someone like a Damian Rivera has that potential. I run a little hot and cold on DJ, but if he does well in the Gold Cup, he comes back feeling confident. Boy, this team can beat you in so many different ways. And again, that's an edge in a meaningful way.
100%. I mean, help our fans and our diehards in the chat. I mean, right? We obviously, it's the PHNX Rising podcast. We're pretty Rising centric. It depends on who you ask on the pod, right? Full range of everyone from Doom and Gloom on the Owen Evans side, to, Reese and I, who it's, try to keep a little bit more level. Where do you see Rising in terms of the context of the league? I'm hearing a lot of what we've been talking about during this episode, that there is a lot of legitness, there is a lot of growth. I mean, is this something where, is it a fair claim to say Phoenix Rising is one of the hottest, teams in the league? And if so, do we see this as something that is sustainable, given how the West is?
Without a doubt, I think they're the hottest team in the West. The only other competitor would be El Paso. And if you watch an El Paso game, they're gritting out wins. It's very passive
Yeah.
kind of soccer. The competition, obviously, you've got Charleston, who is scoring goals for fun in the East. I know they drew over the weekend, but what they're doing is pretty exceptional. Weirdly, North Carolina on a hot streak. They're kind of in the El Paso bucket for me of awesome that you're getting the points, but boy, is it not pretty when it happens. So if we're going blow to blow, who's playing the best soccer, feels like they've got an identity and are winning games because of it, it's Charleston and Phoenix right now. That kind of title matchup group is coming up hot.
We'll see, man. We will see. I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, especially where people had this team pegged. I mean, you mentioned a couple teams out in the East. I mean, I think the way that it's so funny, I feel the more things change, the more they stay the same. The East has always been the juggernaut that seems to cannibalize itself at the top, but then you'll randomly get, the East also is somehow more prone to playoff upsets, which is a whole nother conversation in itself. But the East cannibalizing itself at the top, you're always going to get the teams that seemingly are hot, the Charlestons, the Louisvilles, right? Tampa Bay even making a bit of a resurgence. So like there's that bit, but then on the West, it really does seem it's wide open. Like you kind of look at throughout the years recently, right? 2023, 2024, this 2025 season. There's not really a massive through line. There are people who are sure maybe in the upper half of the table, but it's not always going to be a Sacramento. It's not always going to be a San Antonio. It's not always going to be a Phoenix Rising. Like, I think that shows the parity in the West, and that if Rising does hit form late, listen, I'm not going to try to get ahead of it and say, hey, a home playoff match that's locked up. By no means it is. It's going to be tough to fight it, but we'll see. It seems a lot more optimistic, and at least the vibe, dare I say, is a little bit better than this time, in previous seasons.
No, for sure. And I mean, I look at the West and I think, man, out of this conference, maybe 11 of the 12, 10 of the 12 teams could reasonably make the playoffs. But even in that group, like, I don't see Phoenix falling out. I feel like they have established themselves as part of some upper echelon, whether it's 4 or 5 teams that you like would lock in as a playoff side. Phoenix has played their way into that set because of what they've done in the past month or two.
We'll see, man. Like you said, there's El Paso, there's other guys who are rounding into form. But I don't know. Like, you just look at the form lines. I'm looking at the league table. I mean, the East, they have their clear-cut guys. It is Louisville, it's Charleston, it's Loudoun. It's these guys who've been relatively consistent, at least within the past 2 or 3 seasons for sure. West is wide open. You'll love to see it. We're going to see what it all looks like. On the other side of the break, we'll give you a little FC Tulsa preview, talk a little Gold Cup. Last ad break coming to you now. Stick with us afterwards. All right, guys. It's a little basketball season, if you will. Bet365. They're doing a little NBA Finals promo. You guys want to win some money, right? A little jackpot of up to $100,000 in bonus bets with their first play fortune. Here's how to do it. If you go in to Bet365, use the promo code PHNX365, you deposit $10, place a 3-leg same-game parlay bet with a $1 minimum. Again, you have a chance to win up to $100,000. Here's how the 3-leg same-game parlay works. You must have 3 legs. First player to score the first basket in a game, first player to get the first assist in a game, and player to get the first rebound in the game. If you get all 3 of those right, you win some big cash, right? I'm all about winning money. People fade Max around the office, do the opposite of my bets, but that's only for soccer. But if you're trying to win some money for NBA Finals, again, download Bet365 app, use promo code PHNX365, deposit $10 and place your 3-leg same-game bet for $1 minimum. Try to win some money. Do it today. Do something that, I don't know, maybe I can't, but terms and conditions do apply. Take a look at all the stuff in the show notes for more information. I'll shout out our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Is just the best place to watch genuinely everything. We are doing the Cardinals watch parties throughout this upcoming season, as we have done. Be on the lookout for more PHNX Cardinals content. Dare I say, Suns, new head coach? Maybe get some PHNX Sun stuff in the mix. Maybe producer Shane has a little residency cooked up at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. He loves it. He's giving me the party symbol. Gila River Resorts Casinos, they have multiple locations throughout the valley. It's just genuinely, it's a phenomenal time. It is the best resorts and casinos in the valley, in the state. It's genuinely not even close. We've had multiple of our hosts stay there. A fun time. It's a beautiful, beautiful environment. The upper deck, bar and grill, it's the place to go. It's the place to watch sports. You do you. Visit playathila.com to learn more and just go have a good time. They're fantastic. All right, back here previewing on the PHX Rising podcast, the FC Tulsa match. John, what do we make of Tulsa? Because again, second in the West, they, again, Rising seemingly has had their number, even going back though into years past, especially away. Listen, man, I'm going to say, here's my Reno 1860 FC reference from the pod. Reno 1860 FC, Great Nevada Field, puts that to shame. That is a glamorous, beautiful, immaculate pitch compared to what FC Tulsa has. No offense / some offense for Tulsa. It's not an easy place to play. It's definitely a little bit of a muck it up game at times. What do you make of what Phoenix Rising can expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pitch kind of represents the team. If you look at the last 2 months, yeah, I mean, this team, they press you hard. They're very physical. Their average pass travels about 13 yards. There are no other teams in the league above 9 over the last 2 months. So they are more direct than everybody, and it's not even particularly close. But they mix in that ability to be a little bit classy. Like the baseline is we're going to go long from the back and we're going to out-battle you. But when the game settles down, they've added some players that can really do the job with the ball at their feet. There, for my money, hasn't been a club that's been more successful using the transfer market during the season. They got a guy, Jamie Weber from South Africa, who's very highly rated. They got another forward who I'm forgetting where he's from, Al Hassan Chore, who's a real speedster. Just loaned in Elliot Goldthorpe, who was a double-digit scorer in Next Pro last year. There's a lot of firepower. It hasn't all settled yet, but you mix that in with the way that they press, the way that they defend. If nothing else, Tulsa is really hard to play against.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's further exacerbated by that home pitch. And I mean, I think to your point, it's something that Phoenix Rising, when teams have gone long against them, it's not something that they haven't been used to before. I just think it does play a bit of a challenge where Phoenix Rising, again, they tend to have wanted to play a bit more of that track meet in the earlier part of the season. They've been more adept at trying to break a team down. This is going to be an interesting challenge. I'm even curious your thoughts of like where this match goes, because again, I feel, especially when you travel to Tulsa, this can be a real muck it up game that we've seen in seasons past where it's ugly, kind of more in line along the lines of what Rising faced in the Open Cup, or maybe it's more of, a 3-3 classic from, last season where, 6 goals apiece. Remy Cabral has a brace and it's a party. Like it is, from a neutral's perspective, it's a very entertaining match. I'm curious what side of the coin you think we're going to get from this one.
I think it's going to be pretty end to end. Like Tulsa, and especially in recent weeks, as they've integrated some of those new attackers, they've not been afraid to get into a track meet with you. For Rising, a lot of it is going to rely on how efficient can you be in the final third. Tulsa likes to pack it in with 5 defenders deep and 2 really conservative defensive mids. That's 7 players. That's hard to beat. I think the other thing is those knockdown situations. When Tulsa starts long from the back, you're going to need JP Skiers, and I'm assuming Noble Okello, to come up big, win those second balls, and make sure that Tulsa can't establish territory. To me, that's kind of the interesting question. Is it going to be Okello? Is it going to be Emmers in the midfield? I liked a lot of what I saw from Emmers coming on to the game in those latter minutes against Orange County. He doesn't strike me as a guy who really relishes the physical duels against a bunch of trees in the final third. We'll see what gives with that, but those feel like the factors at either end that might decide how this game goes.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. I saw Ryballs in the chat asking what you thought about Emmers. Yeah, it's always fascinating. I mean, I think especially given this club, curious to see how many keep giving him minutes, especially the depth or lack thereof within Gold Cup. But it's going to be fascinating. I'm really curious about the complexion of this. I mean, we already have as we do on the pod, we do ask for predictions, and before I even ask the chat, they're already throwing theirs out. John, I'll start with you. You're saying this is going to be a track meet. This could be pretty end to end. Can I get a scoreline from you?
Yeah, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go 1-1. I think we get a goal either way, but yeah.
Okay, right on. Well, let's see. I'll name a couple in the chat. We got James Wilson in the chat, a 0-0 draw, to which Devinall's saying we're way past those days. I tend to agree, but I mean, just our luck. It's going to be a 0-0 draw, right? Kev in the chat, 2-all. I'm going to go with a 2-all. I'm going to go with 2-all. I like where Kev's at. Devinall, 2-1 win with us. James in chat advocating for a little Charlie Dennis action. Yeah, not hating that. Shane, can I get a score prediction from you, good sir?
4-1.
4-1.
Okay.
Is this Phoenix Rising or Tulsa?
I got no idea.
I love it. Okay. Gosh. And James in the chat saying we want a 3-1 Rising win. Kevin, is Dennis now a winger? Is that a short-term option with all the forward missing? I mean, we've even seen like Charlie Dennis, he can certainly have the ability to play up more. I mean, he's a tough one. Like, I don't think that's his best position. I think he can certainly play it in the pinch. I mean, I tend to think it's more of, given the depth or lack thereof. I mean, John, what's your read on that?
Everything you hear is that the winger position is just what Charlie Dennis is at this point. I don't know if I love that in isolation. I do kind of like it if it's what we saw in those final 15 against OC. Phoenix basically used Dennis and Emmers as these very narrow wingers where it's more like using 2 number 10s.
Sure.
If that's a shape that we're going to see as like a plan B late in games, sign me up for more of Charlie Dennis doing that.
Yeah, definitely don't hate it in terms of like a more like, to your point, like a tucked in. I don't even want to call it winger. Like, I guess it is like a dueling number 10. I mean, yeah, no, I definitely don't hate that. And it's funny. I feel when we even signed Charlie Dennis, I feel Owen and I were having this debate of like, I see him more as like, kind of like that 8 and even almost like a hybrid 10-ish role. Whereas Owen's like, his preferred one is kind of more of like a tucked in winger. It's just like, it's tough, right? I mean, I think a lot of his role has been when he's playing center of the park just because I like his stature. I like him being able to boss games. But like, to your point, if he's playing further up, that's not a bad thing. Like, he has creativity, he has the poise. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. It's just, it will be interesting when more guys come back into the mix after Gold Cup of like what that role ends up continuing to carve out to be for him. Albert in the chat, 1-0 Rising. Bonnie with our first loss prediction, Rising losing 1-0. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who won because I didn't pay for premium for my like premium service. I just know it's gonna be 4-1.
It's gonna be 4-1.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have like this weird like tarot card thing in my head.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to cough up $15 a month?
No.
Okay.
No. We'll have to check back next week. See if you're even half right on your prediction. Gosh, that's 4-1. That's gross. What else? Anything else from this match, John, you want to highlight?
With FC Tulsa, I'm a huge fan of Arthur Rogers in central defense. Former League One Defender of the Year, but somebody who's just an unreal passer. I'm excited to see how he does against the rising press. But yeah, he's just a fun player overall. So if you're watching a guy in Tulsa, make sure it's Arthur Rogers.
Love it. I know we only got a few minutes left. Getting into Gold Cup, right? There's a lot of Phoenix Rising angles that we can take. I mean, even overall, talking about national teams, it's exciting, right? We were talking about it a bit beforehand. It's kind of wide open from a Gold Cup. I mean, obviously, who wins it? That's a different story. But even just in terms of the entertainment perspective, I think we're seeing a lot more guys from USL Championship come into the fold, shine out a bit. Anyone in particular who, whether it's from Rising or overall from the league, who you're excited to see?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sticking close to Rising, it's definitely Jurl.
I mean,
that
that's
group is tough, but yeah, like what a player he is. How fun is he? Seeing him against Canada, like, come on, that's awesome.
Let's go. You're going to make everyone in the chat very happy with that one. And yep, Kevin asking which USL play. Kevin literally stole my question, but that's okay. Outside of the drill, Margarita Love.
You stole Kevin's question.
I think it was at the same time. Outside the drill, Margarita Love, which we can always get down with. Anything else further we got from Gold Cup or anything else from Phoenix Rising season we can touch upon?
I mean, Gold Cup, I'm a sycophant. I'm excited to see how badly the USA can do. Like, there's a real chance that we're breaking out the pitchforks at the end of this, and I'm here for whatever happens.
Oh boy, Poch to Spurs, bring him back. That's what I'm
Let's
hearing.
Go.
Man, well, John Morrissey, thank you for joining us. People can follow you at USL Tactics on the Twitterverse. I'm usually a no free ads guy, John, and I do stick to that. But anything you'd like to plug, like to promote, you being a great person that you are.
Yeah, backheeled.com. It's $5 a month, and I'm legit running out with like a 7,500 word cover every team power ranking thing.
Dang.
That's very unhinged, but I love doing it. We've got a USL Championship podcast now with Ryan Sikora, who's there in the Rising Mix, Peyton Gallagher, who used to be there in the Rising Mix. So plenty of DNA for the Arizonans who are interested in it. We also talk about Phoenix way too much on the show, so yeah, you'd like it.
We love it. Well, yes, great work that they're doing, that John and the Backheeled team are doing. Go check them out again at USL Tactics. But of course, this has been the PHNX Rising podcast. Of course, you can follow the pod at PHNX__Rising at _the_. Ooh, John, we usually do the thing double the underscore, double the fill in the blank. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm blanking.
Double the blanking. Shane, you got something? Yeah? No? Yeah? Okay. Shane's giving me a look. Yeah, okay, he's giving me a bell. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. Again, you can follow John on Twitter at USL Tactics. You can follow Shane on Twitter at Shane Deef. Yeah, it's Shane's birthday. If you haven't yet, go celebrate his birthday. Apparently,
it's not my birthday. My birthday's in a month.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be his birthday. Go to gophnx.com. Go join our D-backs pool party. Take over. Enjoy it. Have a good time. And yeah, give Shane a big birthday smooch on the cheek. He'll love that. But until then, we will be back Wednesday, 6 p.m. next week. I think Mr. and Mr. Vacations will be back into the fold. So until then, again, you know where to follow us. Keep up with us on Discord, everything like that. Go Rising. It's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when we have good people on the pod and we talk about Phoenix Rising actually crushing it. Later.
We all silly like the mayor.